You've got to learn how to not take every opinion, negative and positive, as truth. Right? Just take it as it is. But take it as it is, but don't become identified and attached to it, because you have to remember what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. And if you know if that's something that's going to cause you to stumble, you've got to prevent yourself from getting too invested in an opinion and letting that dictate the worth of your work. Okay? Because I'm telling you right now, that shit will not only stop you from fulfilling your work completely, that's the stuff that could completely end your career. I'm not kidding. Not because of what they're going to say and that's going to make everyone else think. No. I mean literally, I've seen filmmakers. Anyone who's familiar with Martin Scorsese's story before he made Raging Bull, made a film, got torn down by critics, and he overdosed. Right? And it's things about that with criticism. If you can't remain detached, it will tear you apart. It will. And this is really something I need to tell myself, because I see it again and again with negative opinions and negative feedback. And when that stuff comes around, I get way too attached in it, way too caught up in it, and letting it determine the worth of my work, and then I never go. And I'm not just saying this about YouTube videos. I'm saying this about my scripts, about my films. And I know that when I go further into this, the further I go, the voices only get louder. They grow in number. And if I can't handle just one or two, I'm definitely not going to be able to handle 100, 1,000. There's no way. Literally, I mean, that's one thing I've honestly been convinced, that the higher powers aren't going to let me grow to 1,000 subs and all that stuff and go even higher, because they know. He knows, man. You can't handle that. You can't even handle 1 or 2 pieces of negative feedback. Why should I let you have all that? You would die. You would be eaten alive. I've seen the way you respond just off of one bad opinion. Why would I even let you get the experience? Why would I torment you, son, by letting you experience what it's like to get eaten alive by critics and wolves and people with negative opinions that don't get it? Right? Especially when your ears aren't looking for it. It will eat you alive, man. You've got, and I hear him, man. He's like, son, you've got to learn to detach. You've got to learn to let go of the way you feel about these opinions and what they mean. And you've got to recognize them for just being nothing more than a man's thought. And you got to remember that you're in the arena. And you're doing the frickin' thing. You know? So that's the thing there, starting that off. Moving into the second, so that's the first step of that. So I don't want to ramble too much more on that, because that's all I really got to say. So, the second aspect of criticism and feedback that I do want to talk about. When you do seek it. When you one thing I do when I finish a script, I send it to people. I said, tell me what you think. I'm opening myself to that. Even then, you've got to be able to open your ears and not let your heart get invested in the feelings. Get invested in the opinions, especially if you're very sensitive like me, because what happens is you're going to get laced up in the littlest things that they say and make it mean the biggest things. Let's just say, like they say, I don't think you develop characters very well. So what's that gonna, you know what that makes me do? Oh my god, I don't develop characters very well. I should probably look at these other scripts that I do. I don't know how to develop characters well. And that means if I can't develop characters well, that I can't tell good stories. If I can't tell good stories, I can't make good films. If I can't make good films, I'm not gonna be a good filmmaker, and then I shouldn't do it at all. And it becomes a freaking snowball. Like I say, I suck, and it's one thing I literally need to start stepping up. That's why I'm sharing this. Right? So the big thing is when you do open your ears to feedback, and you're here to listen, there has to be a sense of detachment. Even on the positive things, when they say, I really like this, okay, jot it down, don't get attached to it. That is not a time to get inflated and deflated. You've got to find a grounding in knowing why you did this, why you set out to do this work, and what you're trying to do. And because here's the thing, just because somebody's got a bad opinion doesn't mean it's bad, that your work is bad. There's been tons of bad opinions on so many great works, man. And the reality is, some things just aren't for people. And a lot, you know, so, and that isn't me sitting here, I don't want to sit here and be like, ignorant to the fact that if you're doing something wrong, yeah, that needs to get pointed out. Which is why I'm saying there's a time where if you want feedback, you've got to be willing to open your ears and listen without emotionally investing yourself into the opinion. Because it'll eat you alive. So, I invite you, when it comes to asking for the feedback and asking for the criticism, do it with people you trust. Or people that you trust and know that you know that they know what they're talking about. That's huge. That's huge. Because you've got to know that if you're about to receive a bad opinion, that it's going to be from a person that's giving it to you legit. And if there's something about that bad opinion you might need to pay attention to, you've got to be willing to focus on that. That doesn't mean to take everything that because here's the other thing. Every note that they say is not every single little thing that's wrong with your script. Everything is a suggestion. I don't care how certain they seem while saying it. Every little piece of feedback you receive or criticism is simply a suggestion. And it is up to you to decide if that suggestion is going to improve or worsen it. And here's the thing. Some people just miss the script. They don't see the story. They don't see what's going on. And it's just not for them. It's just not a piece of art that resonates with them. That's another thing you got to be aware of. Right? There's a difference from your work genuinely being bad and someone just not getting it. Someone just not feeling it, you know? What I invite you to do when seeking feedback is to A, be aware that both you will get positive and negative feedback. You've got to jot it down, open your ears to it, and keep the emotions out of it. And that's hard. That's hard at first. But it takes a level of training. Because the thing is, with artists, we're pouring our hearts and emotions into it. And jabs at our work will tear us apart. Especially if they're right hooks. Oh man. Hell, sometimes it's a stab. So you've got to learn to detach yourself from the work for a bit. Because sometimes someone taking a shit on your work is what you need to see what's wrong with it. Or sometimes people but even then, it's just a suggestion as to what you could do to do better. So you've got to learn to remain detached. Open the ears to what they're going to say. Keep this out of it. B, like I just said a second ago, every piece of information, positive and negative, is just a suggestion, is just an opinion. Nothing is fact. And it is ultimately up to you how you want to treat those opinions. Because, what do I mean? If someone says they liked a specific section of your script, but you know that you didn't really feel that way, and every time you sort of go back to that part, you don't really like it, get rid of it. Right? Or maybe you like, hey, if they like it, I won't change it. It's a suggestion. And it's ultimately up to you what you want to do with that suggestion. This is going to prevent it from criticism meaning so much. And again, it allows you to stay more detached and realize everything is just an idea when it comes to feedback. And it's up to you whether you want to incorporate it or not. Because if you seeked the opinion and you opened your ears, great, now you have a list of things to work with. And now you can see what you want to incorporate, what you don't want to incorporate. What you might need to improve and what you might not need to improve. The important thing is you preserve the passion that got you to write the script. You preserve the emotional part of you that took the pen to that paper and made it happen. Now, again, this is just my analogy. The paintbrush to the canvas, however you want to do it. The camera to the set. However you want to describe your art form. But it is ultimately up to you to recognize that. I want to read a quote, man. Actually, about receiving criticism and feedback from one of my videos, and it's very interesting, and I just I liked it a lot. So it's actually from President Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who knows at the best in the end of triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. That is just amazing, man. Wow.